All right, welcome to the Lovecraft Easing podcast. Uh, John Paget was going to be on the show today, but unfortunately, he had some family health issues and can't make it, but we'll get him on later. So no
Do you
guest
suppose his
today.
puppets have kidnapped him and they're making him, they tied him up and they're making him watch Del Toro's Pinocchio over and over again?
Anything's possible, although I heard it's really good.
That's oddly specific.
I know. So my kid watched it and she says it was wonderful. It made her cry.
I've heard good things about it. Yeah, not
Yeah.
like the last version of Pinocchio. Was it
is
Zemeckis or something?
Del Toro. It is Del
Yeah.
Toro. So, well, let's do introductions real quick for those who listen to the audio only. I'm Mike Davis with Lovecraft Easing, and let's start with DeBronzo.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon. It's my name's Mike DeBronzo, architect and an artist. Sometimes.
They might be listening to this at 3 a.m. also.
Whenever you are, wherever you are, this is the
Right.
sound of my voice.
Okay. All right. John Langan.
Hi, I'm John Langan. I've written a couple of books and I'm pleased to be here.
Hey, Melissa. Good to see you.
I'm so happy to be finally be able to be back on the podcast.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
great. Yeah. Well, I'm Melissa and I'm a fan of all things horror. And I also have a somewhat neglected horror book review site where I review both like small press and mainstream horror books.
All right. Pete.
Oh, I'm Pete Rollick. I've written a few things and Mike forces me to be here by threatening my family. Wow.
News to me, but whatever works, you know. So, hey, Rick.
Rick Lay, writer and pulp magazine collector.
Bridget.
Hello, I'm Bridget. I do music and art things, and this crazy little cat running around is our kitten Daniel. So I'm like looking around crazy.
New kitten.
What he's getting into.
He's cute.
He's
Yeah.
camera shy.
It's super sweet.
He wasn't
have
a
a
few minutes ago.
I know. You have a cat in the background too, Mike. I didn't
Yeah,
notice
that's
that.
Oreo. She's a
He's
daddy's
like,
girl.
oh, she's
Yeah.
just kind of like chilling back there.
Yeah. Yeah. She's the one that's always has to be with me during the podcast. She's the only
Also,
cat allowed.
Daniel, isn't there an Elton John song, Daniel, My Brother, or something like
Yes,
that? Okay.
yes, but we named him after Daniel Tiger from Mr. Rogers because his face looks like Daniel Tiger.
I'd like to stick with the Elton John. Okay.
Okay.
And last but not least, Matthew Carpenter, who is driving at the moment, but not on video. So,
Hi there, I'm Matt. I have a prize this week. There is a book, paperback copy of Autobiography of a Werewolf Hunter, and you could win it. No less a personage than Rich Bunting says it's the best werewolf novel he ever read. If you want to win a copy, send an email to easingprizes@gmail.com, put werewolf in the subject heading. We usually draw a winner in about 6 weeks, and who knows, it could be you.
personage. All right. Well, we don't have a guest today, and honestly, I love our guests. That's why I asked him on. But it's nice to have episodes sometimes where hour two consists of both hours, so to speak. So let's talk about. Well, first of all, I want to remind everybody. Thank you so much to the Patreons for keeping me going. I'm sorry I have to say this every week, but for those who don't know, you get a lot of really cool stuff if you're a patron. Even at the bottom level, you get a lot of Patreon only podcasts. Today we just started a new series. I just uploaded it with Nadia Bolkin. She's doing short podcast reviews. This one's 15-16 minutes. The next one will probably be half an hour, but she's doing.
Nadia Bolkin's really worth listening to also.
Yes,
So
she
that's
is. Yeah, she is. It's we did she reviewed 1899. She reviewed let's see what else. Smile, A Wounded Fawn, and bones and all. And that's just at the bottom level, $5 a month. And if you go to patreon.com/Lovecraft Easing, or just Google Lovecraft Easing Patreon, you'll come to it, and excuse me, you'll see all the choices. So, other thing I'd like to mention, no matter how you listen to this, whether it's on Spotify or YouTube or Apple iTunes, whatever, if you enjoy the show, if you could review at each of those places, if you want to leave an honest 5-star review, you can. If you do it at all those places, it really, really helps more than you realize. And liking the YouTube videos and commenting on those helps a lot as well. So thanks for your help with that. Yeah.
If you join the $50 level, you get to be Pete Rollick's pal. You get a certificate for his fan club, a decoder ring, and a personalized letter from him welcoming you.
That's what I pay him to be his friend.
Wow.
That's exactly. Everyone else can join up too.
Yeah.
Also at $100, there's the carpenter level, which is where Matt really is right now. He'll come and he'll give you a sponge bath every Sunday.
At the $1,000 level, I give you John Langan's address, and you can camp out anytime you want and ask him to sign books.
Fortunately, I have a PO box, so it's a little bit of kind of hit and miss. But
all I got was
you've got a home too.
But if you can catch me,
all I got was an autographed photo from the Last Supper.
I don't know what that means.
He's making fun of my ancient looks.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
Exactly.
And hey, this is not just for Patreons. I do have the link in the show notes, but Trevor Henderson, I think by now everyone knows who he is. He's become quite famous. He's kind of a found footage artist, other kinds of weird, creepy, really, really cool art. He did a Lovecraft Easing podcast, painting, whatever, an image for me. You can get it on a coffee mug, t-shirt, whatever. So it's pretty cool. So check that out. Let's start off with Willow, actually, Matt. You said you're on we had a lot to talk about. You're on the 3rd episode of Willow, and you mentioned yesterday on Facebook that it's kind of Lovecraftian too.
Yeah, there was actually an interview by, I don't know if it was the creator or the writer, or if they're the same person. They grew up a big Lovecraft fan. So there are Lovecraft references in there. Like, for example, one of the kingdoms is called Hastur. And the ancient secret language is called Nakkatic, like the Nakkatic manuscript. And the concept behind the ancient mysterious creature slumbering beneath the earth who could be awakened is, a reference to like Lovecraftian great old ones.
Sure.
But think of those as just like Easter eggs or references. It's not a Lovecraftian show at all. It's essentially 20, 30 years later in the same, it's the continuation of the same story that concluded with the movie. It has like Joanne Whaley Kilmer. I don't know if she uses the name Kilmer anymore. She's the queen. Willow is still played by the same actor. They would have had Val Kilmer, but for his recent cancer stuff.
Right.
But I don't know if he's ever going to make like a brief appearance or not.
But you also said you didn't really like the show very much. Is that true?
No, I don't. I'd like to actually hear other opinions.
Okay.
A lot of times the way that they are writing, well, it's not just in reference to Willow. You know who that woman was who was in the reboot of, what was it, Space 1999 with the Cylons? What was her name? She was the pilot.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, okay, so she had a brief series where she was going out of world or off to a different planet with a bunch of young crewmen.
Katie Sackhoff.
the young crewmen
Right.
were all completely disrespectful, insubordinate, and showed like no willingness to make a cohesive group. And then someone else made a reference to the reboot of Star Trek with Christopher Pine, where instead of having a discussion like adults about who should be commanding the ship, Kirk precipitated a fist fight and Spock cooperated with the fist fight. You know, it's like, which is not how adults would act at all in that situation. It's like in a similar complete disagreement between Kirk and Spock in the movie 6, The Undiscovered Country. They are very much in disagreement about dealing with the Klingons, and
Yeah,
they have an
great
adult
film.
they have an adult disagreement about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't get into a fight. So here in Willow, the young people, who are supposed to be older teens, maybe early 20s, they're acting like middle schoolers. It's deliberate. It's deliberately written this way so that they act like they're smart asses. They don't have any depth of thought. They're not willing to respect their elders. They can't work cohesively as a group.
So you're saying just the characters are not well written and they don't act the
Well,
way
they're
realistically.
written in a very caricatured way that I think is the way quite a few series are writing young people right now. I could be wrong about this, but I get this impression that this isn't just Willow, that this poor writing for young adults is
Yeah.
more endemic throughout fiction adventure shows. I don't know. I don't know what anyone else thinks. I just think the characters are fairly poorly written.
Has anyone else seen any of Willow?
No.
Matt
Can't
turned
say
me
that.
off to it, so I mean, I trust his opinion.
Well, I'd be interested in another one.
Okay.
You know,
All
I mean,
right.
what do you all think about the way that like the young people are written in that Star Trek reboot? That first, I mean, it just seems to
The
be like
2009.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem very thoughtful.
Well, they definitely act like they're 25. Kirk did anyway.
I'd
So,
say that past
I
that,
kind
I'd
of
say
yeah, John.
hate to agree with Matt about anything, of course, but and I haven't seen Willow, although I was kind of excited about it because I have a soft spot in my heart for the original film. So I can't really speak to that, but I agree that I enjoyed the Star Trek reboots, but at the same time, yeah, they were made by a guy who, by his own admission, is like, I don't really like Star Trek. I'm a Star Wars kind of guy.
Yeah.
So it seemed to me that it was an attempt to sort of shoehorn a kind of Star Wars, what he thought was a Star Wars sensibility, into the Star Trek universe. And so there's a kind of man, on all kinds of levels, a great visual effects, of course, but his the way that Spock is portrayed in the first two movies anyway, he's always trying to kill himself. He's always like he's really self-destructive in a way that you didn't get from Leonard Nimoy. I think it's fine to say, oh, this is a different universe, it's a reboot, things have happened differently to change how the characters are. But if this is supposed to be a future military or quasi-military organization or enterprise, I think the way that the characters behave, especially at that officer level, I mean, maybe some guy who's or person who's come in, they've just enlisted out of high school, maybe they might be emotionally immature, but one would expect that, like, Captain Kirk, I mean, geez, in the original series, Kirk had taught poetry. So, and I'm not saying you have to go quite that far, but I think what they tried to do, stripped out, like it's almost as if, I'm sorry, I'm going on too long, but
No, you're
it's
fine.
almost as if they went with the sort of caricature of Shatner and Nimoy and so on, and they were like, that's going to be our Star Trek guys. So, Captain Kirk as the womanizer and all this kind of stuff, which, is sort of there. I mean, he likes the ladies, certainly, but there's like a depth to the original Captain Kirk that I don't really think they've tried to bring out in this newer iteration. Don't get me wrong, I can't wait to see Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek, but I don't think if you're going for any kind of verisimilitude, I don't think this is it.
Yeah, I think not everything can be Lower Decks. I mean, what makes Lower Decks so great is that it's a contrast to what it is. I love Captain Picard, particularly his leadership style and strategies, and even going back and rewatching it, just some of the leadership decisions that he makes and just how his depth of character and maturity and everything. So yeah, Lower Decks is hilarious because of the contrast too.
That's a good point. It is a great time to be a Star Trek fan with everything that's going on with TV. And as far as that 2009 movie, I don't disagree with anything you said. I will say this, so that the trailer for that movie, where the one where it starts off where he's on his motorcycle, is one of the most exciting trailers I think I've ever seen, just strictly speaking about the trailer.
You know, it was for me too, but then like, because there's the image of the ship, right? You know, this Titanic image. But then I thought to myself, why are they building this on Earth?
Yeah.
You know, like wouldn't it be better to build this in 0G?
Well,
Are
isn't it
you dissing
canon that-
Iowa?
Hmm?
Are you dissing Iowa? Is this
Perhaps the gravity is less in Iowa. I don't know.
But I thought it was canon that those ships were built at the Mars shipyards.
certainly less
Right, but
gravity there?
this was Iowa though. It wasn't even
Right,
Mars.
I agree with you. So
Yeah.
Yeah, is this heaven? No, it's Iowa. You know, people get confused.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk was from Iowa, but I thought maybe if anything, some of the stuff was built in San Francisco at Starfleet. But now I'm gonna have to go back and
Maybe there's multiple places in this new version of the Star Trek universe. So, but anyways, all right. So
Canon schmanon.
yeah. So Willow. All right. So we talked about Willow. DeBronzo had a great suggestion for a topic about what's going on with with Shudder. So
Ugh.
yeah. DeBronzo, you want to start this off?
Yeah, it's just I noticed this just yesterday, but apparently it's the news kind of came out a couple days ago that AMC is, I'm not going to get this right because I don't perfectly right because I don't know, I haven't read everything there is out there, but apparently like they're downsizing and
There's some layoffs, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of layoffs apparently, right? And a lot of them are from the top people at Shudder were laid off. So I saw some of the the tweets from those people that like, it's been a great privilege, this is a great thing, and they're moving on. So, you know, what's that mean for Shudder itself? I mean, it sucks that those people lost their jobs, but it's a very, as far as like, if you're interested in the horror genre, the one-stop shopping you would do is you go to Shudder.
Yeah.
Tubi's
It's
a nice
important.
yeah, I mean, Tubi's a nice supplemental. They have tons of horror movies too. If you can't find it on Shudder, I always go over to Tubi, see what they have. But Bridget, you had mentioned this, right? There's like foreign movies. Like there's tons of them. You're just exposed to so many different facets of horror. And you're not going to get that anywhere else. I remember pre-Shudder, I would be going through all the streamers every week because usually Tuesdays when the new stuff drops, and it's buried. You know, it's like Barnes and Noble with their horror section. You know, they usually don't have a horror section.
Right.
It's like every other genre but horror.
Sci-fi.
Yeah, it's back near the porn.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean,
Wait, they have a porn section? Sorry.
if
I
they
was just
did, I'd be
distracted.
there more often.
Sorry.
The other thing that Shudder has, Mike, that I think is really cool is they have a live TV channel when you log into Shudder. That's a really neat way in this day and age to watch a horror movie with your friends.
Yeah.
You know, long distance.
I mean, if you do have Shudder, if you don't, I suggest get it. Hopefully it's around by the time you subscribe. But I mean, imagine it not being there.
Well,
And
Paul, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, I'm just saying, it's like I was thinking about this before I came on. I'm like, say that goes away and it goes back to like, you know, you're back scrambling to find stuff. And it's just like, in the good old days, you would go buy a DVD, probably blind buy it if you couldn't go see it in the theater. And that sucked because it got really expensive. Now you can just open a channel on your computer, on your TV, and it's just like, boom, there you go.
It makes no sense because horror always sells.
Mike, why don't you, did you figure out why they were doing this, Mike DeBronzo, or what was the rationale?
I've just been so busy this weekend, unfortunately. I wanted to find out exactly why.
AMC
But-
owns them, right?
Yeah, AMC, there's something going on with AMC where I don't know if they're downsizing, if it's a budget thing or whatever, but it's just not Shudder. I think it's across the board.
Well,
So
and I think it did say they weren't like saying it's going away.
Yeah.
It's just that there were a lot of cuts from Shudder, and I think it was the head people that from AMC that were managing Shudder. Like that was their
It's
project where it got
like the
canceled.
first article I shared with you guys, like the second later, like I had read it, but forgot to mention they even have at the bottom update, Shudder's not going away. It's just, they had worded the title horribly.
Yes.
But at the same time though,
clickbait, yeah.
yeah, if these are the people that make it so good, if it stays, like what's that going to reflect on the quality? Because somebody put some time into doing that, like the selection of
Yeah.
these movies.
That's true. I mean, because it's like it's curated. It's like literally
Yeah.
a curated selection of horror. Like, you would assume the people, running Shudder are horror fans and they're looking out for, a good selection where like, so if you're going on Shudder, you're going to find a good selection of, different genres of horror versus every other streaming site has horror, but it's usually just like a kind of like a hodgepodge. I mean, like
Yeah.
Tubi's, good because it has a lot of like old cheesy stuff, but like,
Yeah.
like we're a Shudder, it's just all horror and it's
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
and
Melissa,
like
you-
categories. It's like the only place
Yeah.
you can go to, and
Yeah.
they have like a whole list of just vampire movies or just ghost movies or whatever. Otherwise, your other streaming services, you're just kind of scrolling through the horror list, like what if-
Endlessly.
Yeah.
You can tell
Yeah.
there's a
What
lot
is
of
it?
love put into it.
Where are we supposed to go for Sharks of the Corn now?
Well, Tubi is
Yeah.
a great place for sharks.
Here's
I love sharks.
here's something I tweeted. Hopefully this is much to do about nothing. I really hope so. But then why did they lay off? You can't lay off your good people, otherwise your
Yeah.
product or
Well,
service
and
is
it's-
not as good as it used to be.
It's not just AMC though. I mean, a lot of those streaming services are going through growing pains right now, trying to figure stuff out. I
Yeah.
mean, I've read so much stuff about even just Disney Plus this week and other services trying to figure out, okay, well, now people aren't necessarily going to theater to watch movies, and they're not necessarily watching as many movies as they were because we're not all at home all the time now, and trying to figure out how to make things profitable. I mean, I can't even imagine all the conversations that must happen, but
Well,
Yeah.
here's what I wrote on Twitter for what it's worth. Take it or leave it on this about this. And I'll just read the two tweets. If I was in charge before I did layoffs, I would appeal directly to the customers, explain what's going on. If they're trying to make a profit, the Shudder customers understand that. Explain what's going on, be sincere, and charge $2 or $3 more a month immediately. I think 95% of Shudder customers would understand it's a different kind of loyalty than Netflix has, for example. My wife and I don't make much money, but $2 or $3 more bucks a month is not going to make us or break us. I've read that Shudder has more than 1 million subscribers. In this scenario, that's another $3 million a month. It's only $5.99 a month currently. That's really cheap.
and they have great originals too. So
If they immediately changed it from $5.99 and raised the price to $8.99, I don't think most Shudder customers would keep the service.
No.
And I don't think you would see the complaints that you do, like when Netflix goes up $1, for example.
right, because you don't know what you're going to get with Netflix. I mean, with Shudder,
Right.
we know what we're getting for our money, and it's worth it for sure.
If you're at Shudder, you're there for a specific
Mhm.
reason. Like this is my problem with most of the streamers, except for their shows, like their original shows. They're all interchangeable.
Mhm.
And some have better variety. Like Netflix is horrible with updating stuff. I don't go there for movies, and I honestly don't really watch it. Like, but you could like Hulu's kind of good. You could say, well, this is good, and that, but you could just take all of them and if you took the name off of it and it was just like, here's your selection, wouldn't be able to tell which one's different from the other. I
It's
mean,
true.
they're all offering the same thing. Places like Shudder or Shudder, because there isn't another one like it really, is, that's very specific. And there's horror, like Matt had mentioned, horror is always profitable. It's like the dirty laundry of like movie of the genres, nobody wants to admit it, but you always make $1 off horror because it's got there's always fans.
So
Well, and
wait, Mike DeBronzo, are you implying you can make money off dirty laundry?
If you know the right people and you're willing to do a couple things, yeah, sure.
Well, we were just talking about that Knife Point horror story the other day about the dirty laundry growing and attacking people.
There you go.
Yeah, I want to watch. I
Bring it
want to listen to that now.
Oh, it's amazing. It totally reminded me of the Shel Silverstein story, the Cynthia Stout and the garbage, but about laundry. It was amazing.
It
But I mean,
just seems like go ahead, John.
No, I'm just that like there were reports. There have been reports this past week and maybe a little longer that, for example, Disney is, especially as far as the Marvel stuff goes, is sort of recalibrating because post Endgame in particular, right? There's been just this dump of material, and it's not to say that it's not good, but it is to say that I'm so far behind. For example, I'm a comic book kid. I mean, I and still, and I really enjoyed those movies, but at this point, I'm just like, even Black Panther, right? Which should be like, which looks great. I'm just like, well, maybe I'll catch it on DVD or streaming at some point, right? So I think that there's a lot of, DC is doing their whole big restructuring thing with what's his name, James Gunn, and the other guy, other guy. So these things like they are running into difficulty in that, all superheroes all the time or all Star Wars all the time. Like it gets after a point, you're like, I need something else, like however much I enjoy a taco grande, I don't want it every meal. So with Shudder, I mean, last weekend, I only watched Shudder. There were a bunch of movies I wanted to see, and I was like, oh well, this is on Shudder, this is on Shudder, this is on Shudder. Okay, then Troll was on Netflix, but it really should have been on Shudder. Let's face it. And so I think that with Shudder, there's I mean, where else could I go, right, to see the New Zealand TV show, the remake of or expansion, I guess, of, was it the Deadlands? I think it's a sort of Maori show, I guess, or centered show, which is pretty amazing. Which I keep out of New Zealand, and I keep hoping that there'll be a season 2 of it because season 1 ended on a cliffhanger. But that's crazy, right? It's crazy that I get that there's a place I can go and I can watch that. And I don't know. I don't know what the thinking was, because my understanding was it's AMC, it's Shudder, and there's at least one other service that are sort of under that umbrella. I can't remember what the third was, but my understanding, which is imperfect, was that Shudder was the target of most of the layoffs. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? But I don't know. I kind of feel like, I see on my social media feed, my friends, whatever, everybody pretty much is like, oh, watch this on Shudder, watch that on Shudder. So there's a part of me that's like, what more, I mean, I guess we could spam them or, send a lot of emails to them and say, why are you so dumb? We love this.
I was going to say,
service.
it's like the AMC executives don't really know what they have there, and
it's the perfect place to if you're curious, instead of going out and renting, you're not going to rent a shitload of movies. Like if you were to look at the selections there, they're so different. Like this is just a great place where you go, like, I would never pick this movie up, but I'm going to try it. You never know. You might have a new favorite or another subgenre that you're interested in. Like I've done that there. I used to watch horror movies ad nauseum. I mean, I've slowed down over the years, but it's just a great place to find new stuff. So I can't picture it not being there. And I agree with John, like with the superhero movies, stuff like that. It's just oversaturation. How can I miss you if you never leave? And it's just like tons of stuff. I have fatigue. I was the same way. Like new Marvel movie, you would get like 2 a year. So your anticipation builds for when that next movie comes out. But now it's all superheroes all the time. It's just like the Marvel stuff I've tuned out. Like
Yeah, I
like you
agree.
said, like Black Panther, I would have gone to see in the theater, but I'm gonna wait till it's on Disney Plus. And if it takes 6 months,
I
it's
think
6 months.
perhaps the only, well, they're not taking the long view for, for sure. They haven't even considered the fact that, raising that it is so cheap and they can conceivably raise the price. Without
I
too much
wonder
complaint.
what they'll do though. I mean, we really don't even know what they're going to do yet, besides letting these people go.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we don't want to lose it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to bode well. It's not a good sign. I would gladly pay $10 a month for Shudder.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I guess, wait 1 second. You
Yes.
mentioned the movie Trolls, John, or Trolls.
Yes.
I kind of want to see that. How is it?
I thoroughly recommend it. It's
Yeah.
Godzilla in Norway.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it hits all the beats of a kaiju movie.
Nice.
Wait. If it hits all the beats of a kaiju movie, it means the people are terrible, and you just want to see the troll.
Yes.
It's not quite that bad. I mean, but the people are definitely they sort of fit into the character types that you expect. And when I watched it on Netflix, it was dubbed, so that was like the dubbing did not sync up right with the lip movement. I was like, oh, they even got that right, which I know was not intentional, but there's like harebrained schemes for how to destroy this thing. And there's a kind of a move. What's interesting about it, it sort of reflects the move in the Godzilla movies, the shift in the Godzilla movies, towards I don't know, it's something that's a little bit more sympathetic to the monster. Well, the monster's still bad and he's killing a lot of people, but we're bad too. And so there's something about that, like it's really of the moment. There's a parental sort of a conflict to it. But yeah, you do, some of the biology is maybe a little wonky. I'm not an expert, but I was like, wait, if something's made out of earth and stone, how can it leave a skull behind? But okay. But other than that, no, I recommend it.
Now, so John says it's it's in step with Godzilla film. I'm going to be more specific. I think specifically you can say that this is a Rodan film.
Oh, interesting.
In terms of the mining operations and the hatching and all those other things, there's a very, where Godzilla is inspired by nuclear attacks, Rodan is inspired by strip mining. And there's something similar going on here. So anyway, that's my take.
All right.
I thought you were talking about Trolls in Troll 2.
No.
That was I'm like, really? That's your big attraction to Netflix?
My hope is that they
God bless
link
you.
it back to the excellent movie Troll Hunter from about
That's what
10
I
years
was just
ago.
about to say.
I
This
would love
isn't
to
related?
see. I don't know if they will or not. I hope they do.
Still haven't seen it. I guess I'm
What,
supposed
Troll
to see it, right?
Hunter?
Troll Hunter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Troll Hunter,
Really good.
Gotta see that. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, Troll
it's
Hunter.
really
If
good.
you've been on the fence for the last 10 years, let's get off the fence and it's
Yeah,
time to watch Troll Hunter.
It's been 10 years. Yes.
Yeah,
Which
you may
I-
want to wait 10 years for Troll, but I'm just saying Troll Hunter, its time has come.
which I think, John, is very interesting because I think Troll Hunter and Troll hit some of the same subplots in terms of I smell the blood of a Christian man.
Yes. Yeah.
It's played out both times, and they both handle it kind of differently. Troll Hunter's a little bit more subtle about it.
Well, the interesting thing in Troll Hunter, right, is that in Troll Hunter, the government knows. The
Right.
government knows these things are out there, and
He's
certain,
recruiting Muslims.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the way that in Troll Hunter, there's an explanation for why you see these gigantic power lines in the middle of nowhere. And it's like, oh, those are barriers to keep the troll in place. Which is sort of a brilliant little bit of sleight of hand. This one is not quite as subtle, I think, because in Troll Hunter, the Troll Hunter is actually kind of a fascinating character,
Right.
who has he has the relationship with the trolls that ultimately some of the people in this movie do, sort of like, wow, these are these terrifying but also kind of awesome natural creatures.
Well, Melissa wanted to talk. We'll get to the thing that everyone's waiting for, to the meat of the conversation here. Tubi shark movies, right? That's what you want to
Oh
talk about.
wow, well, this is like quite a. We're like just like moving right out of this to this new shark topic. Okay.
Well, I
We're
just wanted to,
drifting
I
like a
wanted to make
car.
you,
We're
I wanted to
drifting.
make you happy.
Thank you. No, I'm very interested in watching the troll movie though. I have to add that. But yeah, so I really never was on the shark bandwagon for a very long time, and it was like Shark Week and Sharknado, and for
Band
some reason
shark.
I kind of like, yeah, like all, yeah, the band, yeah. But I just recently saw an advertisement for Shark Side of the Moon, and I decided to watch it. It was on Tubi,
Oh
and it
my
was
God.
surprisingly good. I mean, it's a horrible B movie, but it was like, and it didn't really make a lot of sense, but it was like quite enjoyable. So then
You're like,
I
is it the kind of movie that you sit around with your friends and you're making fun of it, enjoying it
yeah.
because it's, yeah,
Well,
like
it
Mystery Science
starts
Theater
out.
3000.
Yeah, it starts out, and like they're like it starts out with a bunch of people. They're very serious, and they're all like getting ready to take off to the moon, to explore, like the dark side of the moon. And all of a sudden, the one lady's like, "Oh, I shouldn't have eaten that taco." And they're like, "Oh man." They're like, "Okay." She's like, "Yeah, I have to get off this space or this space shuttle." And then they need to get like some other guy to come in and replace her. And I'm like, and they're all
As you
wearing
do. Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, okay, like
Was that like a
I'm
famous
looking up
actor? Was that someone who was like, look, I'll take the $50,000 just to be in this movie for like 30 seconds, and then you got to get me out?
great point. I don't know, because it was like I'm just like shouldn't be in that taco. I'm like, this is like the greatest line in a movie.
I
Can't go to the moon. I ate that taco last night. So it's just like out. I'm like an astronaut. Sorry. Like I had Taco Bell and now it's
I just went on Tubi now and I looked Sharks of the Corn, and it says you may also like Sharkula,
yeah.
Avalanche
Well, then
Sharks, Virus Sharks, Psycho Sharks, Atomic Shark,
My
Shark and
God.
Stein, Super Shark, Satan Has Jaws, Shark Exorcist, Noah's Shark,
it's
and Sharks of
crazy.
Venice.
Wait, Noah's
So
Shark?
I know Noah's Shark is fantastic. Everybody,
Noah's
get in
Shark.
here, get in here. The shark.
I
Like,
actually-
this is fantastic.
I can remember the Noah Shark advertisements.
I thought you were going
I
to say
don't
like
know.
there's 2 shark movies on Tubi. Apparently not.
I had no idea. But
plethora.
then I just watched Sharkula, and it's like abysmal. Like the budget is so low. Like, I mean, Shark Side of the Moon, like if I had like CGI, it's like it looks like a blockbuster compared to Sharkula. Sharkula has like a shark that looks like a puppet, and it has wings. Like it looks like it's like very, and it has like a lady dancing, like a fire dancing on a beach for no reason. Like it just like it literally, you're just like, what is happening in this movie? But it
Sharks
has
made out
somehow,
of cardboard or something.
yeah, no, it's like I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. But it starts out, they're like, hey, they're like, we have to go to Arkham. Like we heard something from Miskatonic University, so they have
Really?
some like Lovecraftian
This is
references. And
Sharkula?
yeah, and it's
Okay.
kind of set up almost like a Shadow over Innsmouth premise, although with shark vampire
Shadow over
sharks.
Sharkula.
Yeah, like I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, there's a little. I mean, it's not like in any way like a cosmic horror or anything like that, but they do have a little nod to some like,
Yeah.
some mythos, I guess.
Wow.
One of the
I mean,
greatest.
it is.
That's a lot of shark movies.
That is
So wait,
Yeah.
that we have to add that to our list of Lovecraftian movies, Mike.
I don't think so.
I mean, yeah, that's like
Howard.
that's where it ends. But like, there's not, anything else like Lovecraftian. But it's really, really bad. But I mean, if you just want to watch something that's like extremely silly, like sit with your friends and just like laugh at something, you can get up and walk away and come back. It doesn't really matter for the plot.
And you're not going to lose crucial elements of the plot if you do that.
Yeah, no. I mean, you will. Like, I'm like, wait, what's going on now? And I'm like, well, they didn't really explain it, so it doesn't matter.
But then
All
you
right.
rewind and you're like, no, there is no explanation. It's just we're on the
It's just-
beach.
So the
yeah,
Bronzo,
and
are you
Pete.
there?
Oh, I'm here.
All right. So I have 7 days where I'm trapped in the house alone over Christmas.
Oh no, here we go.
With
Yes.
in-laws or not.
Tell me what I wanna hear.
Alone.
Oh,
So I
right.
promise you,
Home Alone
I
3,
will
The
watch
Sharks.
some of the movies on your list, and I will watch Dark Shark Side of the Moon.
oh, please
Oh,
do.
there
You'll
you
You got to
I'm
watch
into
like
Sharkula,
it.
though.
You'll like it.
Amazing.
I feel like
I-
you should watch both of them.
So explain this for the listeners out there who don't know what Pete's talking about, the list of movies that
Oh,
you gave
it-
Pete.
This is slowly become, or quickly, I should say, becoming an annual thing. Last year,
Tradition.
tradition. There we go.
Yeah.
I got to pick a bunch of movies, highest caliber, quality movies for Pete to watch. He had a list, and I think this is all because I talked to you and watching Armageddon.
Yep.
And then we had so much fun watching your mental breakdown as you like chronicled you watching this movie on Facebook.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, what if we could talk him into doing more? So I came up, I specifically picked some real winners, and he watched them all, and then he agreed to do it again. And I hope he continues to agree until you break. You finally
It's-
break.
I was gonna
It's-
say his sanity. His sanity drops a few points every
Oh,
time
yeah.
he watches
Oh,
one of these movies.
But like Melissa, like you said, every once in a while, there's somebody who knows that they're making a bad movie will just drop a Lovecraft reference. into the
Yeah, it's like
center.
just there was
Because
no
the-
reason for it, but it was
except
like
to get it
okay.
on the lists.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I think pterodactyl. Do you remember pterodactyl?
Literally terror.
Yeah,
Dactyl.
I don't think I watched
pterodactyl. I think
I-
that the
I
main
don't.
character is Professor Lovecraft.
Oh, my God. Well,
I'm-
yeah. Speaking of Lovecraftian movies, to the listeners and those who visit the Lovecraftian website, I'm getting there. I'm updating the Lovecraftian movies list. So right now, that's all that page says. But it's been a huge draw for years. People love that list. So I promise that it'll be done this week. So, and Matt's helped me with that. I think several of you have helped me with that. So Daniel the cat is so cute.
He's just watching you guys. It's hilarious.
Oh my God, now he's looking at you like,
He's
Mom,
adorable. I know. He's like,
Can
"Oh,
we
you
watch
gotta feed me?"
Sharkula?
can we watch
He
Sharkula?
would-
That
oh my
sounds
gosh.
good.
He gets up by the TV and bats at stuff. He would freak out at a shark movie.
'Cause it
It's
has
coming to get me.
wings. It's a bat
W-
shark.
When are they
so-
gonna come out with Sharkula 3D? That's what I want to know.
Oh my
I-
god.
That would
isn't
be
like the
excellent.
isn't like the Sharks of the Corn, like the tags line is you're prepared to get stalked or something like that. It's
Oh my God.
like
No,
I'm
but-
convinced
So bad.
It should
That's
be.
wonderful.
don't somebody's in a room like just, hey, what's your best shark name for a movie? And they just they do the
I wanna
title
meet
and
that
like
board meeting. That'd be
make
great.
it work.
Yeah, they just like come up with a name that sounds good, and we're like, we're just gonna make a movie based on this. Like,
Yeah.
how will it work?
I want to see the whiteboard that was at that meeting. Shark this, shark tree, no, shark at the woods,
It's-
shark at the
What
shark
about like
probably-
Shark You?
sharky.
That could be like a sort of mafia kind of movie. Shark You.
Yeah.
It's that whiteboard is probably the back of like a Chinese container for like pork fried rice or the
Oh,
bag
yeah,
it came in.
yeah.
It could be a
yeah.
marker. It's just-
Well, equally important to the shark movies. I'm looking at an article on Gizmodo. Mike Flanagan to adapt Stephen King's Dark Tower for Amazon.
Mm.
Nice.
The one streaming service that never has to worry about money.
Okay, so wait a second. Their track record with the Wheel of Time,
This is
And,
Flanagan, not. This is Mike Flanagan, the guy that did well, let's see.
Sensei.
House of the Bly Manor. What, Rick?
Midnight Mass.
Absentia, I was gonna say.
I still,
Absentia.
I still didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Absentia.
Yeah, yeah. That was his first movie, I believe, Absentia. But he's been at Netflix pretty much exclusively. He did Bly Manor. What were the others? I'm blanking right
Bonnie
now.
Midnight
Hill
Mass.
House.
What?
Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass. What was
Whatever the most recent one, Midnight Club,
Midnight Club?
which
and
is canceled now, obviously. But
what was the first one? The Shirley Jackson.
it was Hill House.
Yeah, Hill House, right? Hill House. And I've enjoyed most of them. So I don't know what's behind the change. I'm sure money has something to do with it. But
you know what? It's got to be better. That movie was just dreadful.
Yeah.
So
well,
maybe
the Dark Tower has to be a series. How can you make it just a movie?
Yeah. There's
You know.
too much. There's just too much information for it to be just a movie. It just would never
Yeah.
work.
And yeah, Mike Flanagan has a really good track record, Matt. So you know, this will probably be good. I mean, I imagine Dark Tower fans are extremely excited about this.
Well, remember there was a plan before the single film version. There was a plan, like Ron Howard was involved in it, and Javier Bardem was going to play Roland, and it was there were going to be two movies, sort of like this one, two movies, but it was going to be sort of bookended more by the series. There was going to be like some kind of limited series movie, then maybe like limited series movie, limited series, or something like that. It was this kind of epic plan that seemed like, to be fair, the best way to do it. And then it was all sort of boiled down into the movie.
Yeah, and now the TV scene has really changed. You know, so all these streaming services, you know, and they've realized that stories like this should be a series and not a movie for the most part.
Well, when Amazon spends $1 billion on the Lord of the Rings, right? I mean,
yeah,
you know,
that's
there's got to
true.
be like I'm sure that whoever's thinking, oh, the Dark Tower would be too much, has got to be like, well, maybe not.
Yeah. So this Gizmodo article says they've revealed that they've acquired the rights to a screen adaptation of Stephen King's The Dark Tower. Flanagan said the deadline in an interview that he's already written a pilot script and season outlines for the show, and imagines a series that will run for 5 seasons and culminated by 2 self-contained feature films. So that's a big undertaking, and it has to be for the Dark Tower series. So, I mean, are you guys excited for this, knowing it's Flanagan? Or
I've never. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would like to see it. It's a pretty epic story. So done with, and it always kind of read to me as sort of cinematic.
yeah. Well, they canceled Midnight Club season 2 like 6 hours after the deal for him to go to Amazon. So, and then Flanagan, he's a pretty good guy. He gets on Tumblr or somewhere and explains what would have happened in season 2. I thought that was pretty cool.
That.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah, that was very cool.
Flanagan has a pretty good record with Stephen King. I like Gerald's Game and I like Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Midnight Mass is very Stephen King like.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So definitely the influence is there.
Flanagan did Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't remember.
Oh, I didn't
that.
realize.
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
recommend watching the director's cut. The director's
Yeah,
cut, I
really?
think, is actually a really great movie. It's a great,
That's the one I
Um,
saw.
yeah, it's a great sequel to both the book and film of The Shining.
And that's a hard balancing act to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but he does a pretty good job. I like it.
I'll do that, John, because I did very much enjoy the movie. So yeah, he's got a good track record. I would bet that this Dark Tower series is going to be something really great. You want to talk about something in the dirt, DeBronzo?
I was just
Were there
curious,
three?
how many of us here have actually seen Something in the Dirt?
I watched
I
it last. I watched it last weekend.
Not
I
yet.
actually, my thought is I respected it more than I liked it. I think that the background story, what they're uncovering,
Mhm.
what they're hinting at is happening throughout Los Angeles. That's fascinating. But then the characters that are in the foreground are pretty unappealing.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't seen it on because DeBronzo said that I probably wouldn't like it.
Probably not. My advice to Mike was wait till it's included with the streamer and then
Oh,
watch
yeah.
it then. And then that way you can just like, if you're not interested, you tune out and you don't feel like, okay, I don't like this. There goes my $7 type deal.
Well,
But
they're real big Lovecraft fans, obviously, cosmic horror
I-
fans. I mean, is it cosmic horror or is it something else? I mean, you don't
There's-
don't spoil it, but I'm curious.
what would you
It's
say,
again,
Darren?
in the very background, the very underlying story has quite a bit of cosmicism. It's quite a very interesting to try and see what's going on, and not just the little piece that they're fiddling around with, but their interaction, it's like anything but cosmic.
Okay.
I don't know how else to.
It's
Yeah,
like a
no, I agree. And that, to be honest with you, that kind of appealed to me in a twisted kind of way, because they play Benson and Moorhead play the characters, and so they develop ultimately this kind of quasi homicidal relationship with each other. So there was, on a kind of meta level, there was something that was kind of funny about that.
I didn't realize they acted in this one.
Yeah. This is their COVID movie. I think they made a lot of
Yeah.
this during lockdown.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with the Bronzo that you should probably wait, Mike, till this is out on streaming, because I kind of like where it went, and there were things I might tweak about it or change about it, but there were certain things it refuses to do, let's put it that way. And I kind of like, the further away I get from that, the more I'm like, yeah, okay, I can, that's kind of cool. But at the time I was like, I don't know. But I think it takes certain risks, and I'm not sure they all pay off. I'm really not sure. But depending on if money's tight, yeah, I would maybe wait till this comes to a streaming service.
It's when I saw it, I kind of, you get whatever 48 hours with Amazon to rewatch it.
Right.
I kind of want to revisit it, just because I think it's one of those movies. If you don't like it, then you don't revisit it. But if there's something there you like, I feel like there's things that maybe on a second viewing might become more apparent, or maybe they won't. But I mean, I liked it. It's not going to be for everyone. I think that's a safe thing to say.
It's not like The Endless. I think The Endless is more satisfying as deliberately so as a movie. I also think this is not satisfying deliberately so. But yeah, it kind of, Synchronic I thought was a little bit of a weaker film. There were things about Synchronic I liked very much. I just thought it was maybe needed to be a little tighter. This feels in some ways like a return to form, or more of a return to form.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, the only thing I was gonna add is it's kind of like a character study with this incredible thing happening as part of the story. But that's all I would actually add to that.
I know. Let's see here. What's next? Well, I feel like I'm bouncing from actual serious topics to things like Sharknado and
10
Sharkula.
minutes, maybe. Okay.
Let's talk about Cocaine Bear, the one movie that we're looking for.
I told my students about this. I was like, and they were like, "What? No way, Mr. Langan." And I may have given them permission to search out the trailer. And they were like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever!" And I was like, "Probably not."
That trailer is hilarious.
The actual bear is in a mall. Like the actual bear.
Like
that
still coked up.
cocaine. No.
Just,
It
Let me
died
out,
of a
let
heart
me out.
attack.
Whistling at the girls and everything as he's like, as they walk by.
you
Ah,
got anything for me? Come on.
no,
Hey,
you're talking
you wanna
about the
do some
actual. Yeah,
Yeah, like the actual true story. The bear just found the cocaine and died of a heart attack. But it is actually
yeah, it was dropped out of a plane or something.
yeah, it was actually stuffed and
Oh,
put
I'm
in
sorry,
a
Mike,
ball.
the cocaine was dropped out of a plane, not the bear.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes.
The bear leapt out of the plane after the cocaine. That's the thing. He snorted it, landed, and he was like, ah.
The bear is actually DB Cooper.
The
Or
sequel
cocaine
will
shark.
be
Yeah, he
That
was covered in a
explains so
cloud of
much.
cocaine, and he just came out of that like all hulked out.
the sequel will be cocaine parachuting bear or something like that. You know, so
Oh, so hey guys, sorry, I have to check out. So
no problem. Thank you,
It
Matt,
was a
for
lot
being
of
here.
fun. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Bye.
Take it
Matt
easy,
has been
Bye.
pulled over by the state police.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
His
Didn't say
his
that.
phone picked up cocaine and it alerted all the local authorities nearby.
Right,
Yeah.
right. They were like,
Like, what's
cocaine
going
bear, and they were like,
on?
he knows about
See you
that.
later.
See ya. Give me two. Give me two. Yeah. So that trailer was hilarious, man.
You've
Oh,
just seen
man.
the best parts of the movie.
I didn't even think it was
Probably.
real. Like I didn't think this was a real thing when you guys started talking about it. I was like, what? Like I just thought it was like art. Like I didn't think it was like actual, like real. Like so the
It's-
fact that it is, I'm just like, what?
Who
It's-
could
I
make
think-
up? Actually, you know what's going to be next? Cocaine Shark.
Oh, there you
You
go.
know that's coming. You know that's
Someone's
gonna
coming.
do
He's
it.
got a list.
Yeah.
It
John, we got a
it gets
list.
into the water, and then the shark, it goes through his gills, and the shark is like, all
No.
right.
No.
got a
no.
list.
All right, you ready,
Yeah,
John?
someone just
Here you go.
No.
First, there's going to be Crankadile,
oh, I forgot about Crank.
Meth Amphibian,
That's my
Oh my
favorite.
God.
It's so bad.
Crankadile versus Meth Amphibian.
Nice.
What about Godzilla? Does Godzilla get high at any point?
No, we had one more. What was it? It
Oh.
was
Shit, I can't remember.
Crack Gator. No, Meth Gator.
Meth Gator.
Meth gator. I
Meth
feel that
gator.
one's a little weaker though. I
That-
feel
that-
meth
that
amphibian
is-
works for me,
Yeah,
but
keep
Yeah,
working on it. keep
Meth
working on it.
Amphibian really works. And
crocodile works. Yeah, crocodile
Yeah, it
works.
does.
But
Pothead, Pothead Panda.
Pothead.
Butthead
That's what
Panda.
it was.
You can just make it like the Yule log. on 420.
Right, he's just like there. He's just like sleeping.
It's
and everybody's like, "Why is there? Is anything going to happen?" He's like
It's just
surrounded
a
by
penny,
scientists.
there's
They're like, "This
shitload
is
of
boring."
bamboo with a bong next to it. It'd be
Right.
awesome.
somebody proposed like heroin iguana, and it just sort of like
No, he would just be
it
jittery.
sits there. It doesn't do
Aw.
much.
He would just keep slapping his front
Yeah, I was
leg.
gonna say like his tail's like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, this, I usually don't watch movies like this, but I'm going to watch Cocaine Bear. This looks hilarious.
I feel like I have to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, the trailer was just funny as hell.
Cocaine Bear is to the 2020s as Modern Problems was to the 1980s. It's a
I remember that.
distillation of everything you could possibly want with drugs.
Well,
If the bear
cocaine.
levitates and snorts coke, then I'm definitely in. I remember that part of fucking Modern Problems.
Oh, I love Modern. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, I did too.
here's a movie about drugs.
Haven't
funded
thought
by
about
drugs.
that movie in decades.
Yeah.
But Cocaine Bear, don't you guys think it's also kind of a
Metaphor?
sad commentary? The system has really failed
Oh, of course.
poor
Bear?
creatures. They, keep getting high
Yeah.
and ODing.
Well,
So-
from what I can gather, it looks as if he's pursuing more cocaine. That seems
Yeah.
to be the
Yeah.
way the movie is
He's
going.
he's an instant addict.
And apparently, there's cocaine like all over the forest.
Right.
So,
Well, the
Yes,
one
there is.
because
I mean,
it's like
yeah.
the woodpecker's like, "No way, he's coming for my stash."
the,
Come on, woodpeckers do cocaine. Think about that. That's totally,
that trailer, what cemented it for me is what after you see him climb up the tree to get to the
Bears
dude.
can't climb trees.
Yes, they can. And you realize he's got blood
Well,
all over his shirt. He's like, oh shit. Then you see the bear on the ground and the legs severed, and it's just busting a rail off his kneecap.
Oh
I'm
my
like, I
God.
gotta see this fucking movie, man. That's writing.
I like the part where he's like, I don't think that kind of language is called for, or something like that. And then the bear's like grabs him right then. Sorry, Rick, did you say something?
The other thing we could cross over this movie was that documentary about Bigfoot killing drug dealers.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
There
So
could
then
be
it's
something
Bigfoot
there.
versus Cocaine
Yeah.
Bear, right?
Yeah.
Bigfoot is trying to take down Cocaine Bear's drug empire.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like, that all has a lot of potential.
I think the first thing that Cocaine Bear has to do is admit he has a problem, because you can't, fix the addiction.
But
until
wait,
you
there
do.
was a movie I watched recently where there were guys growing weed or smuggling heroin or cocaine, and their big nemesis was Bigfoot.
There was the
Oh, really?
documentary.
The
on-
There was a
documentary.
documentary that was very
Yeah.
weird.
No,
was
it
mostly
wasn't a
about the-
documentary. It was a
It was an
fiction thing.
actual.
It
fiction.
sounds like a Tubi movie.
It
This
does
totally
sound
sounds
like a
like a
Tubi
Tubi
movie. I may have broken down and watched the Tubi movie.
Oh God.
Yeah.
How could you?
Well,
Somebody probably watched that documentary and they're like, "Oh, we should make that into an actual film."
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, they're like, this would be way better if
Ridiculous.
it was like, yeah.
Yeah, I would watch that. I
Actually, I'm
absolutely
thinking
watch
that is like I'm thinking that's like a whole genre of films, the Tubi mega movie. It's-
Yeah.
We made
But you
this
don't
for
need a big
$3,000.
budget for that.
I can imagine college kids, with some weed going, all right, let's go through the whole Tubi Shark thing. We're gonna binge it for days. We're
Who
not
was it?
sleeping until we're done.
The
want-
guy that edited the Winnie the Pooh anthology.
That's a
Uh,
hell of a segue.
No, I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring.
Give me a
Big-
minute.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
What's that?
I said cocaine's a hell of a drug. It's a
No,
hell
no,
of a segue.
no. Anyway, the guy we had him on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Nick, is it Nick?
Scott Nickley?
No,
What are you talking about?
the guy who edited the Winnie the Pooh Cthulhu Mythos anthology. I can't
Oh, you've got a story in that.
you tell me the name.
I can't remember the name.
All
I'm
right.
so sorry.
Pete sounds like bad cop right now. Tell me
Hang
the
on.
name.
Tell me the name.
Give me the name right
Hold
now.
on, I see it. Hold on 1 second. Hold on.
I was gonna say I have
Gotta
the
find
book,
his
but it's up
contributor's
in my other
copy.
room.
I
don't-
blanked
don't
out
know
things
if
like
it's
Gotta
that.
find his
in-
contributor copy. That's what he's looking for.
He just wanted an excuse to show off the
I
contributors.
think he
No,
listens
no,
to
no.
the show
Yeah,
too,
I
and he's
have
gonna
it right
kill all of
here.
us. He's gonna
Neil
kill all.
Baker.
How did you not know it was
Right.
me?
Neil Baker, yeah.
Neil Baker.
Sorry, Neil. It's Pete's
Sorry.
fault.
Anyway, Neil Baker goes on these binges of watching whole series of related films. Like he'll sit down and he'll watch everything shark. Like a couple of weeks ago, he did every shark related horror film he could find,
Wow.
and just like in 2 weeks, watched them all, and then rates them. And he does crazy stuff like that. He just picks a subgenre and just runs with it.
He is like your hero, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah.
This is where you get your inspiration to go through this. This is awesome.
Not the hero we deserve, but the hero we need.
Yeah.
Or maybe the hero we deserve. Who knows?
Probably the hero we deserve.
Yeah.
Look, the hero we
Yeah.
deserve is the creeper. That I'm just going to put it out there.
The Neil Baker, you have to give him credit. It's a great anthology. And he's like, people are like, it's in the public domain now. And so is Lovecraft. A million people said it, but Neil Baker actually did something about it.
Um,
So-
So I can't elaborate, but the story in there got me a job.
Nice.
Wow.
but you can't
It's
elaborate.
good. I read your story. I liked it.
Yeah, it got me a job.
Well,
Well, it got me a shot at a job. So let's put it that way.
What, like McDonald's or what?
No, like another
He got
story.
you a call
I
back.
know, some kind of Winnie the Pooh theme park or something like
Yes.
that,
It's gonna be a
Ooh.
Walmart greeter.
dressed as Winnie the Pooh. Horror Winnie the Pooh.
I think
covered
there's
in
a
blood.
documentary about that too, like a cursed Winnie the Pooh ride at Dark Ride.
yeah.
isn't there?
Well, now that I've teased Pete, let's promote him.
What?
Pete has a story at free to read story at shoggoth.net, and it's
Yes.
called The Angels of Pestilence.
Right.
So if you are a Pete Rollick fan, and everyone listening is, I know, yeah, they are. The Angels of Pestilence at shoggoth.net.
So
check it out.
Shoggoth.net is doing this cool Cthulhu
I'll
advent
link
calendar.
to it. Advent
like-
calendar?
Yeah, they're doing it every day is a free Cthulhu story.
That's
Oh.
awesome.
Oh,
Cool.
nice.
Nice.
Is there chocolate?
If you could get it to come through the
Evil.
screen, you can.
I mean,
have
if
that.
it's an advent calendar, I expect some chocolate.
Yeah, my
Speaking
kids
of
expect
Well-
money out of
That
their advent
movie-
Oh
calendar.
wow, money.
Yeah.
Wow, they're yeah, no, chocolate. I'm good with chocolate.
So-
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna have another one coming up in a few days too.
Wait, this means there's no chocolate.
There's no chocolate,
Damn it.
but there are Shoggoths.
Well,
kinda like
it's
chocolate.
almost as good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen Advent, that's an awesome movie.
I was gonna say that
Advent?
reminds me of that. I'm like, there's other things you can get.
Mhm.
besides
That's a
chocolate
great movie.
stories.
What's
It's
that?
Yeah,
so
What's
that is
that?
good.
good.
What's
It's a
Advent
French
about?
film. It's a French film, and it's a
Yeah, it's
creepy
Oh my
like Advent calendar. They
Oh,
watched
I've
it
seen
last-
it.
we-
Yeah, it is
yeah,
good.
we all watched it last
I saw it
year.
on
It's
Shudder.
really
Yeah.
good.
it's time
There you
for
go.
a rewatch.
go.
The season.
I would rewatch it. It's excellent. Like it was an excellent movie. Like
Yeah.
it was so spooky.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So Let the Right One In, book, movie, Let Me In, the American version, which I loved both, but I prefer the American version.
Well, you're wrong.
Well, that's okay. I think they're both very good movies. And now there's a TV series. Has anyone started the TV series?
Yes,
Let the
I
Right
have.
One In.
Oh, not.
Sorry,
Showtime, right?
I don't know.
I think it's Showtime.
I think that's right. No one
I
has.
haven't seen it.
All right. Well, I guess it's out there. If you guys watch it, let me know how it is. So
I don't
you
know
know
how that
what?
would.
What
I mean, how would that work as a TV show?
I don't know, but
It's been
you
a
know
while
what
since
would
I
be
watched
really
the movie.
cool? You know, what'd be really cool, Melissa, is when I'm watching Let Me In. It's set in 1983, and I'm thinking, okay, so presumably, they're still together, and he now
Mhm.
looks like an adult of what 50 years old, something like that, and she still looks like she's 12. It would be interesting to take it from there, and what have they been doing all this time? What are they doing now? So on and so forth.
Hmm.
And I don't think the show does that, but I think it would be really cool if it did. If the adult in the TV series was the same person as the boy in the movie.
It would be a nice connector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can imagine. I mean, subsequent seasons could take you through time. Could take you forward. You recast the main the male. And then here we are in 1990, or here we are. I don't know. At Woodstock 99 or something, and you just kind of let it play out as a sort of period piece.
And how did she become a vampire to begin with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could go the other way too. There could be previous boys that she's or men that she's been involved with. Also, I mean, a 50-year-old man with a 12-year-old girl, unless they look very similar, unless it's like, oh no, this is my daughter or granddaughter or whatever. These days, that's going to feel very different than I think it would have in 1983. Although it still would have felt weird in 1983.
Yeah.
But it would also felt different than it would have felt, say, in 1912. So that itself would be an interesting thing to explore in terms of how does that relationship get played out in public,
Yeah,
as opposed to in private.
yeah.
Well, at the beginning of Let Me In, which I'm just that as an example, I believe she met that older guy that she's with when he was 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah.
Like,
You know,
it's hard
um,
to know.
Pete, they are both really good movies, but there's just something about Let Me In. The music, you know, it's directed by Matt Reeves, the guy who did the Batman. It's just, it was very more haunting, more atmospheric for me. But it's, you know, it's subjective.
I will say I liked it better than I thought I would. When I was like, oh my God, they remake, why do they need to remake this? And then I watched it and I was like, oh, it's not bad.
No, I agree with you, John. It's not a bad remake as remakes go. I just don't, I didn't see the need for it. It's like remaking The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. There was absolutely no reason to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
or Psycho.
I saw both, and yeah. Psycho,
Shudder.
they did a frame for frame on Psycho, didn't they?
Yeah, that's
Just
a
Yeah.
complete waste
Yeah.
of time.
What was the bloody point of that?
Ha bloody point.
He just wanted to-
Finally, someone who gets my humor.
No, I'm damned.
What, Rick? Sorry.
he just wanted, the director just wanted to put a Hitchcock's movie in color.
It's
That's one way to do it.
part of the strength of Psycho is that it's not in color.
Mhm.
It would not have the same
On
effect.
purpose.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the thing too, I've showed for a few years, but the last 3 years, I guess, I've showed Psycho to my high school students for various reasons, and you know, almost from
The main
get-go,
reason being this is what's going to happen to you if you fool around in class, right?
possibly, but it gets them. It's amazing to me how this film that is 62 years old gets them. In a way that many other films, much more recent films, don't. They, you know,
Yeah.
everything I show them eventually they kind of settle into, and they're like, oh, okay. But right from the get-go, Psycho just has them, and I find that that's really fascinating, the staying power of that film. So, yeah, remaking it, you know, maybe that money could have been used for something else.
There's so many
Cocaine.
nice subtle cocaine, yeah.
Math.
They're not
It
handing
does.
it out.
The only reason I could see the remake Cycle is if you wanted to do it more like Block's book, which is essentially the same as Hitchcock's movie, except that it's like Martin Balsam and Anthony Perkins are playing different the roles. You would swap them.
Yeah.
because
Yeah, the
Norman Bates
characters
is
are a
older
little
and
different.
Norman
Yeah.
Bates is older and the detective is tall and thin.
Yeah, and he's stronger, Norman. I mean, it's obvious that he's a big man and a strong man. In Block, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I for the first time ever, actually, I had the audiobook of Psycho and I listened to it just like a few months ago. And I mean, it was excellent, but like it's just interesting because like the movie and like you know the book are different, but they're both like you can't say oh the book's better or the movie's better. Like they're both like amazing. But
Yeah.
but I think the film has like made you think what like Norman Bates looks like because I'm like what when every time there's a description of him in like blocks like you listen I'm like that's not what he looks like and I'm like well I guess that is what you know
Yeah.
originally what he looks like you know
Well,
and
and
there's
Blank's
some
got that whole thing
differences,
too,
but-
where Norman is looking at. I can't remember. It's kind of like Lovecraft's A Picture in the House, where he's looking at
yeah
anatomy textbooks or some kind of horrifying thing, where it seems to
Yeah.
me like a clue as to what Norman is really like right from the get-go. But it's also a kind of a way that I think the book actually kind of links back to Lovecraft stuff.
Yeah, because at the end, I don't want to, give spoilers, but I guess this book's been out for a while. But like she's going through his house and like going through all his stuff and getting to his room and like opening up these books and it's like, oh my God, like what? Like this guy is like
Yeah.
really not well. Like, it's like with weird occult stuff. And yeah, like I think there's definitely more of that in the book.
Yeah. Whereas like the movie, you really
maybe.
have the scene of the depression in the bed, which
Yeah.
is very Faulkner, which is very Rose for Emily. I don't know if that,
Yeah.
was accidental or whatever, but.
Well, you guys want to see something cool?
Sure.
Whoa.
Yeah. So for the audio listeners, I'm holding up a book that was sent to me for review. It's called The Book of Asmodeus, and it's got the demon on the front, and it basically looks handmade.
You
It's
haven't
not all
read it out
handmade.
loud, have you?
Sorry.
You haven't read it out loud, have you?
Well, actually, the point of the book is this. Let me read an article on it from
No, just kidding.
Dread XP. The Book of Asmodeus lets you write your own horror adventure. If you've ever felt an insatiable urge to call on powers you really shouldn't, you're in luck. You can now star in your own horror book. The Book of Asmodeus offers a cool concept with an augmented reality horror book and game.
Wow.
The Book of Asmodeus is handmade, featuring 126 pages and a polymer clay cover. It also features acrylic painting, artisanal binding, online pages, and a glossy matte finish. On the cover is a leering horned demon. Its enraged depiction almost ready to leap out of the book to attack. The player writes their own adventure and, thanks to the magic of augmented reality, sees the demons come to life from the discomfort and danger of their own room. While the player
Wow.
uses a compatible smartphone or tablet, the demons come alive using the official app. And what really got me
Creepy.
what was the movie trailer, and I'm going to attempt to share my screen and play this for you guys. And let me know if the sound's not coming through, but can you see that?
Mhm.
All right, so let's play the YouTube trailer here and see if you can hear it.
From the beginning, the fear gave me my power. Asmodeus, that's what they called me. But since then, this name has been forgotten. And that's why
I found an old book in the attic. It's so weird. No, that's amazing. The pages somehow come to life.
That's pretty cool.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Astrinum Atreides. Where are you?
I don't think Danielle will be reading this book, but yeah, it looked really cool, and I wrote to the people who put out the book, and they sent me this review copy. I haven't played it yet, but I wanted to tell people about it.
Does
This is
anybody
almost,
Go ahead.
this is almost like an episode of Evil.
I was thinking
Yeah.
that too, Rick. That game that the girls were playing.
Yep.
And that was the last time we saw Mike Davis.
That's right.
Like,
You
Did
know,
anybody else read Neil Stephenson's Diamond Age?
why?
So it's Diamond Age is about a book that is made for a young girl. You know, it's bespoke. It's made specifically for her, but it's not really a book. It's a digital access port to the World Wide Web, and specifically to a whole series of support cast that will help her with her life. So that if she needs to learn how to shoot a gun, they will teach her how to shoot a gun. If she needs to learn how to sew, they will teach her how to sew. And if she needs to be comforted, they have people that will act as people who will comfort her. But what it ends up doing is, and this book is like 20 years old now, so we can talk about what it ends up doing is that it teaches her to be a revolutionary, and to rebel against the people that she's living with. but this book sort of reminds me of this sort of interactive book that you can do stuff with.
Well, yeah, and I love it's sort of like choose your own adventure for adults in 2022, you know.
Yeah.
And the augmented reality thing, I think, is just so cool. Apparently it was originally a Kickstarter. And I guess it's Asmodeus, not Asmodeus, but www excuse me .bookofasmodeus.com. ASMODEUS. I will link to that in the show notes as well. But you know, I just thought it was really cool, and I wanted to tell the audience about it. So and tell you guys about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential for like augmented reality and horror. Like,
Absolutely.
that's like very creative, you know. And I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. Check that out.
And it's just it's when you hold it, it's a quality book, you know. It's just, here's some more of the interior pages.
Wow.
You know, great art.
That's not going to fit on the shelf really well.
That's what Danielle said. So anyway, a few more topics. You guys wanted to talk about podcasts. There's some new Knife Point horror episodes. A new podcast called Case 63 that I really want to listen to because it's time travel. And you guys are listening to something called It Grows Dark. Is that right? Who wants to talk about this stuff? Don't everybody speak up at once. You guys suggested it.
I'll start out with Case 63. I don't know why it just like popped up on my Spotify and I started listening to it and I could not stop listening to it. I'm like, this is really good.
Oh, good.
You know, and it's 10 episodes. So it's like that the whole story is told within 10 episodes and they're not very long. But the story was very gripping. The voice acting was really good and it had very good sound effects. It was just like really like well done. So I went and looked into it and I realized it was actually started off as in Spanish, and it became like one of the number one podcast in Spanish speaking countries. And they finally were like, well, we'll like translate this to English, you know, for that audience. And it actually is Julianne Moore and Oscar Isaac, which I did not realize Poe
Wow.
is like Poe Dameron from Star Wars is like one of the lead the voice actors. So like I was like, oh, okay, that's why. I mean, it's very high quality. He also Oscar Isaac also like was one of the producers of the English language version. It's I would say it's not, I don't want to, it's like one of those podcasts that like I the less you know about it. I knew nothing going in and I like that. So I don't even want to say anything other than it's like time travel. Like it's
that's all I know. And that
yeah.
now I know that now I know it's good. So since you
I'm like, oh my gosh, so I'm like, these are really great voice actors. I didn't realize, I'm like, oh well, they're a famous actress and a famous actor. Okay.
Yeah. All right,
the
I'll listen
story
to
is
it.
gripping. It's not like reinventing the wheel, but it's really it's well done at doing what it does and makes you question like what you would do in the situations that are presented. So
Well, you guys know me, I got a whole shelf of time travel books, so I love that.
yeah. It has a little horror, like it's just really good. I mean, I liked it. I highly recommend it.
Well, thanks. So what is It Grows Dark? Who's listening to this?
It seems to
Mike.
be. Yeah, I mean, I think it was Matt or Bridget or somebody had mentioned it.
Yeah.
And I checked. Yeah, and and Matt had pointed out like they were supposed to have, you know, our new episodes were this day, and then there was a big gap in between the one that just dropped. It seems to be maybe like almost like a not cosmic horror, could be. Something's going on. You're not quite sure what. There's a base at McMurdo in South America, in Antarctica. And the guy's on the radio. He's just putting it out there like killing time or whatever. I can't remember exactly. But during the course of this podcast, he is just on the radio, seeing if he's just doing it to relay it to anybody that's out there in the world. Something cataclysmic has happened. There's tsunamis. I think there's massive earthquakes, but they have limited information. But there's also something supernatural possibly happening. It almost sounds like a Lovecraft type end of the world type thing.
But
So
is it good?
I'm giving it a chance. Like it's okay. I have some nitpicking that I would do about just the presentation. But because pretty much for the brief intro episode and then the 3 full episodes, it's one narrator at the moment. And he's on his ham radio, wherever the hell it is, and it's just him. If they like production value, if there was a little more, I don't know,
Yeah.
sounds of daily life or something, and you're listening to the same guy with no other characters for like 25 minutes. It's, if you listen to it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
I think I'll do case 63 instead.
I would probably pick,
Well,
I'll be honest with you.
yeah.
I'm not saying
Oh.
don't listen to it. I'm going to keep listening until I decide whether one way or the other.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I think it's worth it. I mean, I've listened to the first 3 episodes, and
Oh,
like I think
okay.
there's a lot of potential for a really interesting story. It's a slow build up. But I was comparing it because I just listened to Case 63, but I'm like, well, these are
Yeah.
like trained, like professional actors and actresses. Like I'm like, and they have like a huge, because it was already a huge success. It's like they had a huge production, like, like budget, I'm sure, as opposed to this. But I think, I mean, it definitely has more of like a cosmic horror, like potential, almost like The Thing or something.
Yeah, I mean, like I like the setting. I like where they're going with it. Like I said, it's little nitpick things. But like you said, it's one has 2 major A-list stars doing it, and a better production, budget. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, of course, we always want to point out when there's new Knife Point horror episodes.
Yeah.
So probably the less you know about the episodes, the better. But go and check them out. Tilda Swinton fans, rejoice! There are 2 movies that are already on streaming that I have not watched yet, but I was just kind of looking at movie trailers last night and ran across both of them. And one of them's called The Eternal Daughter, and the other one's called 3,000 Years of Longing.
That one's been out for a little bit.
Has it? Well, The Eternal Daughter, I think, just came out, and Tilda Swinton plays a mother and a middle-aged daughter. She plays both characters, and this movie is getting really great reviews, and they're like, you forget that one actress is sharing 2 characters because she's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks really gothic. The tagline on IMDb says, returning to a hotel now haunted by its mysterious past, an artist and her elderly mother confront long buried secrets in their former family home. But the trailer was good in that it didn't really reveal much of anything. It just sort of gave you an idea, and it gave you the atmosphere, and it gave you a taste of Tilda Swinton playing 2 different characters, being with each other almost all the time. It looks amazing. So if you're a horror fan, I can't imagine that you wouldn't want to check it out, because I'm going to. So I think it's a ghost story, but I don't know, and that's fine. And then 3,000 Years of Longing looks really good. It's with her and Idris Elba. Am I saying his name correctly? Where he plays a Jinn that grants 3 wishes to her.
And I think George Miller directed that, Mad Max.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
I could
it
be
looks
wrong.
really high quality too. I mean, I can't think of a Tilda Swinton movie that I've seen that wasn't really good, except for maybe that train movie with her and Captain America. Snowpiercer.
She was also in the Suspiria remake, playing an old man.
I liked her in that too.
Yeah,
She was originally a Constantine.
Yeah,
I was just
she's
thinking
great
of
in
that.
Constantine.
Yeah, she plays the angel Gabriel.
And don't forget Only Lovers Left Alive.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite vampire movie.
What was the movie that Jim Jarmusch did after that? She's an alien. It's with the zombies.
Oh, the zombie one. Yeah.
And she can only
Shoot.
move. She can only move in 90-degree angles or something.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I can't. What the hell's it called?
Tilda
The
Swinton's
dead.
in this?
The dead won't die or something like that.
Yeah.
It won't die, yeah.
Jarmusch's zombie movie, and it's quirky.
Yeah, it's
Oh
definitely
yeah,
quirky.
with Adam Driver.
Yeah, it was shot locally, so I have a soft spot for it.
Wait a minute. What's the
So bad.
segue? Tilda Swinton's in this?
She
that-
is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She plays. Well, we think she's a mortician, right? That she's
Yeah.
come to town, and she has this quite precise Scottish accent and a samurai sword.
I love her. And The Eternal Daughter looks incredible. Both movies do, but The Eternal Daughter is the one I'm gonna check out.
Are they both on Netflix?
I think they're just available to. Well, let me check to rent right now, but I'll double check right now. Yeah, they're just available. Looks like they're still in the to buy only stage on Amazon Prime Video and other places. What were you gonna say, Mike?
It's Tilda Swinton, but it has nothing to do with the movies. I just remember, I think some years back she was at, what was it, MoMA, and she was on display where she was like pretending to be asleep in like a glass. You can YouTube
Really?
it, just Tilda Swinton Museum or something like that. And she just was there all day, and people would kind of like walk up, and she wouldn't acknowledge him. She never broke character. She's just like
Wow.
change poses or something, and I don't know.
There's a
I
great
love
picture of
her.
her and David Bowie, and David Bowie is dressed up as Tilda Swinton, and she's dressed up as David Bowie.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think he actually makes a better Tilda Swinton than she does a David Bowie, but you know.
Well, and you're right about Only Lovers Left Alive, John. I think I've seen that movie 5 times. It's amazing. It's atmospheric.
It's the
So
one vampire movie that I think really captures the malaise of being alive for thousands of years.
Yeah.
that's a good point. Yeah, that's a great point. There's a movie called Harbinger also that looks good. Where I think it's she goes to her island home or something like that, or goes to this island, and then she's trapped on the island because of a storm. Plagued by horrific nightmares, a woman enters a hellish dreamscape to confront her greatest fears. 93% on Rotten Tomatoes and 87% on Fandango. So for whatever that's worth to you. But it also looked very gothic to me. That's another trailer that I watched last night. I've not watched these movies yet. I just wanted to make you guys and the audience aware of them because I thought, wow, I've got to see these, you know.
Didn't you last week tell us not to watch trailers?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't realize at first that they were even horror movies. I just was watching trailers. But
You had
yeah,
a perfect chance to gaslight Pete right there. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
what are you? Yeah, Pete. I don't know. You might want to get your memory checked. You know, you're getting to be of a certain age. So
I'm younger than you.
no, you're not. You guys remember the graphic novel, The Doom That Came to Gotham, right?
Yes.
I do actually. I spent years trying to find a copy. I missed it when it was on I saw it on the newsstand, and I was like, whatever, you know, and then of course it took forever for me to find it.
Yeah, and now it's available digitally as well. But yeah, next this coming spring, it will be a DC animated movie. I cannot wait. It's a great story. So Yeah, I mean, Batman and Lovecraft, that's a natural mix in my mind anyway. So, uh, so Paul Trimley has been after me several times to watch Take Shelter. John, have you seen that film with
He does.
Michael
I have
Shannon?
not seen it, but Paul does that sometimes. He just picks a random movie and then he's like, watch this movie, everybody. It's a weird joke. I don't completely understand it. Yeah.
Well,
For a while, he was doing it with George of the Jungle. He was like, no, it's a masterpiece. You got to watch this. Brendan Fraser's finest performance. And I was like, man, I don't know.
he was actually after both Nadia and me to watch it because
He's a monster.
he wants to do a podcast episode on it.
Yeah, no,
we
he's just a
watched it.
monster. He's
Well,
you guys are going to show up for the podcast. You're like, what are we going to say about this movie? And Paul is just going to blow you off.
I don't disagree that he's a monster.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
But yeah, we did a Lake Mungo. The three of us did too. Lake Mungo one. But yeah, and then he's on social media going, I'm for the last 2 weeks I've been writing to the soundtrack of Take Shelter and everything, so
there is no soundtrack. That's the thing. He just makes these things up. Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No, I actually want to see it very much, but it's just on the Netflix queue.
Yeah. Well, it was really good. I can't wait to chat about it. Have any of you guys seen it?
No, but I like Michael Shannon, so that's definitely a plus.
Oh, Michael Shannon's in it.
Yeah. General Zod. A couple years before he was General Zod. So it's like 12 years old, something like that. 11, 12 years old. Let's see. We talked about Doom That Came to Gotham, Eternal Daughter. I think that's most of what I got. You guys got anything else you want to talk about before we?
I just wanted to say that since we talked about Bigfoot and pot farmers, I'm serious. This has been rolling around in my head since. I would love to see where the pot farmers find out that Bigfoot is actually also a pot farmer. And it's just
and he successfully evaded the authorities all these years.
And that's
but it could be like a Jack and the Beanstalk kind of thing where like somebody like wanders into a strange part of the forest and there's this gigantic and they're like, oh my god, and they take a bunch of like, this is the finest quality, and then Bigfoot is like, no way, and Bigfoot's coming after them.
I could just see him on the farm. I'm just picturing like part of the trailer where he's in a trench coat and a hat, and there's just a Bigfoot selling dime bags on the street.
Have you guys seen a TV series that lasted 2 seasons, but it's hilarious, called Impastor, Impastor?
No.
Stars Michael, the guy that played Lex Luthor, Michael Rosenbaum. And basically he owes the mob money, so he's going to kill himself. And in the first episode, and this guy, he's going to jump off the bridge, in New York City or wherever the hell he's at, kill himself like that. And this guy pulls up and he goes, don't do it, whatever you're whatever's bothering you, it's not worth killing yourself over. And Michael Rosenbaum is actually a really funny guy, and he's like, how the fuck would you know? It's just goes from there. And so anyway, eventually, I can't say how, I'll spoil it, but he replaces the guy as he doesn't realize this till he gets to the town, as a gay pastor in this small town. And he finds out that what the guy's new job was. He's going to go undercover and hide from the mob doing this when he gets there. And so he's pretending to be a pastor and everything. And he's basically this loser that, does weed, gambles, owes the mob money. His girlfriend's sick of him. He doesn't have a job. And
a typical Lovecraft zine member. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were going to say panelist.
Well, yeah, I was saying panelist. Yeah, sorry, I should have been clearer about that. Yeah.
Way to draw those Patreons in.
Yeah, John, yeah,
Give us
John,
your fucking
I'm gonna-
money. You'll
I'm gonna
love
lose
it.
all, I'm gonna lose all those patrons.
Do you have a
like the
drug
John Langan.
problem? Are you a loser? Are you still living in your parents' basement? We've got a place for you, the Lovecraft Easy.
A community that will welcome you just as you are. So anyway, you know, this woman comes to him, you know, as the pastor. This is one of the scenes, and she's like, "I found this in my son's bedroom. Is it pot? I think it's pot." He smells it. He goes, "Yeah, high quality too." And she goes, "How do you know that?" He's like, "Missionary work in Jamaica." So it's just a
Wow.
really funny series.
Wow.
It really is worth seeking out. So yeah. Yeah, that's all I got. So anything else, guys? Next week, Ellen Datlow will be our guest. So, and you know, I think she's got excuse me, a variety of things to talk about, but also you know, we could ask her about, she does lists, you know, the best of the year, and then honorary mentions, things like that. And we could talk to her about that as well. You know, maybe some of her favorite stories that she read, books that she read this year. So, and
I made that list this year.
You did? That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's great, man. Yeah, congratulations.
Congrats.
So, yeah, anyway, so come for the talk on, you know, the Eternal Daughter and stay for Cocaine Bear. I guess you could tagline this episode. So good to see you guys. John, good to see you, Melissa. So
It's good being back.
yeah, good
fun.
to see all of you. Good to see your new cat, Bridget.
Cute.
So anyway, guys, thanks for being here. And we will see everybody next week with guest Ellen Datlow. Thanks. Have a good week.